The other thing I noticed was that on top of the world recycles their garbage, and you have to separate your garbage between disposable garbage and recyclable garbage. Here in the villages, you throw all your garbage in one bag and you do not separate it. What a beautiful night in the villages. I thought I would have to do this video because you see the clouds. It's 11:30 p.m. on Friday night here in the villages. We did have rain today. We've been having a lot of rain over the last few days. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I thought I'd give you some video content of what the villages looks like at night. It's very quiet. If you listen real closely, you'll hear the birds chirping or honking at the retention pond right beyond that home. There is a golf course and there is a retention pond, and I hear the birds honking. This is a designer home neighborhood. Here in the villages. Very peaceful, very quiet. I thought those clouds were really awesome looking. This is a cul-de-sac street. At the end of the street, you have a roundabout. And clouds really come alive at night. Very interesting. This is how quiet it is at night here, folks, in the villages. Very peaceful. I was driving my golf cart last night at 6 p.m. and the streets were empty. You do get a little golf cart traffic around 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. That's usually when the bands stop playing at the squares. There is a golf course beyond these homes. That home there recently installed a in-ground swimming pool a few months ago. Has a golf course view and a swimming pool. So if anybody saw my video earlier that I released from On Top of the World, you can see there's quite a bit of difference between On Top of the World and the Villages. There were a few things that I noticed that were different. I think On Top of the World had more streetlights. That was one thing I noticed. If you take a look at that video, you see more streetlights on it, at least in the Weybourne Landing portion of On Top of the World. The homes looked more similar on Top of the World. If you look at the portion of the video that showed the model homes, that's about probably 10 minutes into that video. All those model homes look pretty similar to me. These homes here seem to have a little more variety to them. I also noticed there were no two-car and golf cart garages. It was all two-car garage homes on Top of the World. Here, like this home here, has a two-car garage plus a golf cart garage on the side. I did not see that on Top of the World. The other thing I noticed was On Top of the World had plastic garbage cans set out at the end of the driveway for garbage pickup. Here, the Villages does not allow plastic garbage cans. The garbage company, they come through and they pick the garbage bags up by hand, kind of like the good old days. What's the other thing I noticed on Top of the World, different than the Villages? The other thing I noticed was that On Top of the World recycles their garbage, and you have to separate your garbage between disposable garbage and recyclable garbage. Here in the Villages, you throw all your garbage in one bag and you do not separate it. That was the other thing I noticed. I hope you enjoyed the On Top of the World video. I think it made me appreciate the Villages even more. And some of my subscribers said that it didn't look as nice as the Villages, and it looked boring. I think the comment, "it looked boring," is fairly accurate, because that's the feeling I got when I was driving through there. There just isn't as much activity or things to do. That's why I appreciate the Villages. In most of these 55 plus communities around the Villages, you can get more home for your money. And that was the decision I had to make 2 years ago. Do I want more home Or do I want more activities, more things to do, more amenities, more choices, more options? And I thought, I want to have an active retirement. I don't need more home. In fact, when I was doing some of the videoing yesterday on Top of the World, I met a nice couple who were looking at the model homes at On Top of the World. And they indicated to me that they were living in a 55-plus community near Ocala. And they were looking to downsize. And they were looking at On Top of the World to buy a smaller home. And I've heard that from local realtors as well, that a lot of these people that retired into larger homes are looking to downsize and move into smaller homes. It's just easier to maintain, easier to take care of. And that's one of the considerations that I had 2 years ago. Do I want a larger home? Do I want to maintain that? Do I want to clean that? Or do I want a smaller home that's easier to maintain? And I did hear the same story from people at my local swimming pool. They said that they were looking to downsize. The average villager moves 3 times. They initially buy a home, and then they sell it, they buy a different home, and then they sell that and they buy a different home. I think they buy the initial home just to move down here, get the feel. Then they buy a second home because they want to maybe live closer to their friends. Or they buy a newer home in a newer section. That's usually what happens. And I think the last home they buy is usually to downsize. So it is true that your average villager will buy 3 homes while they're here. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for subscribing. I do appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone. Have a great weekend.